They've lied to you. They've wounded you. Then they grin as if nothing happened, as if your silence makes their actions acceptable, as if your patience signals weakness. But deep within, you know the truth. They don't change. They're just used to your restraint. You've long believed strength lies in forgiveness, in being the bigger man. Rise above endless empathy. True strength isn't in excusing their flaws, it's in holding them accountable. A Stoic knows mercy without consequence isn't compassion, it's surrender. Some men don't grow through kindness. They grow through distance, through facing the weight of their choices. Without consequences, they'll keep harming you and others. This isn't about vengeance, it's about clarity, boundaries, and dignity. In this video, we'll uncover 5 Stoic reasons to hold others accountable for their choices without guilt, anger, or looking back. Peace doesn't come from fixing others. It comes from choosing yourself. They lie to your face, betray your trust, scar your spirit, then offer half-hearted apologies, forced smiles, and the audacity to ask, "Can we move on?" But hear this, an apology after being caught isn't remorse, it's damage control. A man of honor doesn't need prompting to own his wrongs. He doesn't argue with your silence. He doesn't rush you to heal. He doesn't see your boundaries as an inconvenience. He embraces discomfort. He knows forgiveness doesn't mean an open door. He understands regret doesn't grant re-entry. Yet, our culture glorifies rushed forgiveness. From social media to sermons to self-help gurus, they preach, let go, be the bigger man. Don't carry grudges. But Stoicism doesn't demand hatred. It demands clarity. There's a vast difference between inner peace and reopening the gate for someone who's never changed. Be honest with yourself. When you forgive someone who shows no remorse, no self-reflection, no worthiness for a second chance, you're not healing, you're erasing yourself. Worse, each time you excuse the inexcusable, you teach them a dangerous lesson. I can do this again. Not because they're villains in some comic book. Their behavior works for them. Why change if betrayal still grants access? If manipulation earns sympathy, if apologies wipe the slate clean, they have no reason to grow. Forgiveness is noble, but it's not a free pass. Forgiveness frees you from resentment's poison. But forgiveness doesn't mean rebuilding ties. Restoring a bond without change isn't healing, it's self-betrayal. When they say, "Why so cold? Didn't I apologize?" Can't we go back? Remember, trust, once broken, isn't easily reclaimed. It's rebuilt brick by brick, through pain, or lost forever. The Stoic response is calm, not loud. You lied. I don't trust you. You disrespected me. I need distance. You crossed a line. I'm drawing one. You owe yourself peace, not them a debate or closure. You set consequences not to hurt them, but to shield yourself. Let them call you heartless. Let them label you dramatic. Let them accuse you of being unforgiving. That's fine. Only those who freely disrespect you are wounded by your boundaries. Judge them by habits, not apologies. Words are cheap. A tear can be rehearsed. An apology can be perfectly calculated. But patterns never lie. It's not a single mistake that defines a man. It's the repeated actions he refuses to change despite your countless chances. Be real. Look at a friend who forgets your birthday, but expects gifts and attention on theirs. A sibling who jabs with hurtful jokes at every family gathering. then laughs. Relax. It's just a joke. A partner who promises change but keeps crossing the same lines, always armed with excuses. Sound familiar? At first. You make excuses for them. They're stressed. They didn't mean it. They're just going through something. But deep down, a quiet voice whispers, this isn't a one-time slip. It's a choice they make repeatedly. The harsh truth. They're not stumbling into mistakes. They're strategic. Just enough charm to win you back. Just enough regret to keep you from leaving. Like standing in the rain, thinking it's a storm, then looking up to see someone holding a hose. Consider Evelyn, a retired widow at 70. Gentle, thoughtful, the kind who sends handwritten thank you notes. Her daughter began visiting more after her husband's death. At first, it seemed like healing. She helped with groceries, drove her to appointments, called daily. Evelyn called it a blessing. But then came the signs. Complaints about recent struggles, tales of sacrifice to help. Then the asks, can you cover my phone bill? Mind using your credit card for now? When Evelyn hesitated, the calls stopped. Visits grew colder. Then, days later, warmth returned as if nothing happened. This wasn't care, it was a cycle, a pattern. The worst part, people like Evelyn, kind, patient, conflict-averse, rarely dare set boundaries. So, the cycle repeats, and the emotional cost climbs. Here's the turning point. When Evelyn began journaling, noting each request, each shift in behavior, she saw the truth. Not a storm, but a system. This applies to your life too. Stop excusing emotions and start tracking behavior. Confusion fades, clarity emerges. Forgiving the same fault endlessly isn't strength, it's surrender. A Stoic doesn't trade his peace for another's chaos. Marcus Aurelius said, if someone can show me I'm wrong, I'll gladly change, for I seek truth. But it's not your job to teach truth to those who refuse to see it. Your duty is to recognize truth when it repeats relentlessly. Some men aren't remorseful, they're comfortable. They don't need your forgiveness, they want your silence. They crave access without change. So stop debating their excuses. Focus on what their actions reveal. Cease arguing over their intentions and heed what their actions declare. Patterns are your proof. Your peace is priceless. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's clarity, it's dignity, it's self-respect. Yet, if you're used to keeping peace, always yielding, the act of saying no feels like a betrayal. You'll feel guilty. You'll wonder if you're too harsh. What if they're hurt? What if you lose them? But here's the unspoken truth. If someone leaves because you set healthy boundaries, they only stayed because you didn't. Let that sink in. Why is setting boundaries so hard? It starts early, maybe in a family where love came with strings, where saying no made you the villain, where boundaries were labeled selfish, ungrateful, or cold. Now, protecting yourself feels like betraying others. But you're not betraying them. You're choosing not to betray yourself. That's not cruelty, it's healing. Consider James, a 42-year-old father of two. Every Sunday, he visited his aging mother out of respect and love. But each dinner came with remarks about his appearance. Gained weight again. You looked better with your wife. Where's the old James? At first, he brushed it off. Then he avoided eye contact. Sunday dinners became dread, not love. One day, mid-meal, He stood and said, "Mom, I'm here to spend time with you, not to be insulted. If this continues, he won't come." His mother was stunned. She cried, called him disrespectful. But the next week, she said nothing about his looks. She asked about his kids. She listened. That's the power of a boundary. It doesn't always end a bond. Sometimes it starts a real one. Stoic wisdom teaches us we don't control others, only ourselves. But that doesn't mean passivity. It means deliberate action when disrespect is shown. A Stoic doesn't yell, beg, or seek revenge. He closes the door, turns the key, and walks away with dignity. Peace isn't silence. It's choosing who enters your space. Practical boundaries protect your mental strength. Here's how they look. If you shout, I end the conversation. If you're late again, I stop waiting. If you disrespect me publicly, I won't pretend it's fine. These aren't ultimatums, they're truth. You're not punishing them. You're defining what you accept in your life. Hear this, those who truly care will adapt. Those who use you will resist. But what if you lose them? Ask yourself, is it loss or relief disguised as pain? If someone only stays by ignoring your boundaries, that's not a relationship. It's emotional captivity. A true connection doesn't demand you shrink yourself. It thrives on mutual respect, space, and truth. Yes, fear is real. Guilt is loud. But your inner voice is louder, saying, I won't abandon myself to ease others. Others can't treat you carelessly and keep their place in your life. You're not harsh for guarding your worth. You're not cold for valuing your peace. You're not broken for saying enough is enough. Boundaries aren't rejection, they're protection. Self-respect in action. Sometimes, they're the strongest act of self-love you can perform. We all want to believe in others' goodness, to offer second chances. When you care, you hope love can heal them. But Stoicism reveals a hard truth. There's a fine, dangerous line between support and enabling, between compassion and indulgence. Too often, what we call understanding is just fear. Fear of conflict, change, or walking away. It's the trap of silent endurance. You forgive, excuse, absorb pain, and call it love. But you're shielding them from the natural consequences of their actions. What happens when someone is sheltered from consequences? They don't grow. They don't reflect. They repeat their mistakes. Why change if nothing demands it? Imagine a grown son who borrows money but never repays, forgets your birthday but expects gifts, raises his voice while you stay silent. You think he's just stressed, that he'll mature with time, that he has potential, but years pass and nothing changes. Now ask, is he the problem? Or is your silence enabling him? It may feel like love, but it's not. True compassion doesn't clean up their messes in the dark. It means turning on the light and saying, this behavior stops here, and I won't shield you from its fallout. It's hard, because the moment you set a boundary, they'll make you feel guilty. They'll say you've changed. Cry. Claim. I thought you cared. But Stoicism reminds us, love without truth is manipulation. Compassion without clarity is chaos. Enabling isn't love. It's fear wearing a mask of kindness. What's the real cost of enabling? It drains your energy, your sleep, your boundaries, your dignity. You walk on eggshells. Sacrifice your needs. Blur yourself to keep others comfortable. Worse, it robs them of growth. You're not helping. You're delaying their reckoning. Ironically, the more you save them from consequences, the more they resent you, knowing deep down they're not facing life as a Stoic would. So how does a Stoic show true compassion? By saying, you can choose your path, but I choose my response. I won't stop you from harming yourself, but I'll stop you from harming me. I care, but not at the cost of my peace. The strongest love isn't carrying their burdens, it's holding firm boundaries and speaking truth without apology. It's the quiet resolve that says, I care for you, but I also honor myself. I refuse to vanish in your chaos. Reflect if nothing changes. Where will this relationship be in 5 years? What parts of you will you lose to keep someone who won't grow? Is that love or fear disguised as sacrifice? Enabling isn't kindness, it's self-betrayal. Piece by piece. You're not tasked with saving others from their self-inflicted pain. Your duty is to step aside, letting consequences speak. Sometimes, the greatest gift you give is letting them face themselves without your interference. Let them learn. Let consequences roar louder than your words ever could. Let yourself be free. You don't need their apology to let go. You need your own resolve. There are moments when you stop waiting for them to see, to change, to offer the apology you know won't come. In that moment, you grasp a life-altering truth. You don't need their permission to protect your soul's peace. Let it sink deep. You don't need their validation to walk away. You don't need their understanding to set boundaries. You don't need their approval to be free. Hope without evidence is a cage. While you wait, they live on, crossing lines. As you shrink to make room for their comfort, Stoicism asks, why entrust your peace to those who stole it? Consider Carl, a quiet man in his 72nd, soft-spoken, the kind who offers coffee to neighbors. His son visited more as Carl's health declined, claiming to help, but it turned to control, dictating visitors, words, spending, decisions. Carl, fearing loss, stayed silent for over a year. One day, he told a friend, I feel like a guest in my own home. He never set boundaries, not from weakness, but from believing love meant endless endurance. But love without limits isn't love, it's self-erasure in silence. Carl's story isn't rare, it's yours. Mine, anyone's who chose silence to avoid losing someone who was never truly there. Peace isn't granted by others, it's claimed by choice. Stoicism teaches you don't need reasons to guard your serenity, only courage to stop explaining. You don't need to prove their toxicity, list their wrongs, or wait for their insight. Sometimes, silence is the strongest reply. A closed door, a missed call, a life without those who never truly cared. From guilt to freedom, you'll feel guilt. Yes, because you've been taught choosing yourself is selfish. Setting boundaries feels cold. Peace comes only after others are soothed. But ask if they don't change. What must shift in you to find calm? That answer is your compass. It's the Stoic's bold act of mastering emotions, moving from reaction to liberation. When you stop waiting for their fixes and set your own boundaries, a miracle unfolds. You stop rehearsing responses in your mind. You cease craving closure from those who don't value you. You live in chosen truth, no longer swayed by emotions. You walk lighter, Breathe deeper. Reclaim your true self. Unburdened by others' chaos. That return to your core is true strength. You don't need their apology, permission, or perfect timing. You need only one thing: courage to choose peace without asking. Let go of waiting, of wishing, of them. Your peace isn't negotiable. Never again. They lied, disrespected, crossed lines repeatedly. Yet you stayed, explained, gave time, space, every benefit of doubt. But now you see clearly. Kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Forgiveness without consequences is a free pass. Love without self-respect is daily self-erasure. They may never apologize, never grasp their harm, never see your silent pain. That's okay. You don't need their permission. You don't need their change. You need only to stop bleeding for those who bring no bandage. From now on, you don't chase closure. You are the closure. You don't seek peace. You defend it. You don't repeat lessons. You enforce consequences. Quietly, firmly, forever. When they ask, don't they deserve another chance? Respond as a Stoic, perhaps. But I deserve peace more. If this message stirs you, ignites something in your soul, this isn't just a video. It's your boundary drawn. Subscribe to Think Stoic 101, where we don't chase noise but cultivate clarity. Leave a comment. What boundary are you finally ready to honor? Share this with someone who needs it, someone who's been strong too long. Remember, compassion isn't weakness, nor is it a seat for chaos at your table. You've given enough. Now, claim your peace, and let your boundaries stand as your truth.